favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome into Judd's Hockey Show post-game edition. A 4-1 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. I am in the press box tonight, so if you hear a little bit of noise behind me, it's as people disperse here and they play some post-game music. Of course, there is nothing to celebrate. It's Judd, it's AJ with you again, and we'll be checking your comments out. But AJ, I want to give my take, and then you give yours, okay?
Okay.
So this is the fourth consecutive loss, and I understand I can go through the list. The Wild's missing a lot of guys. They're missing a ton of guys. Zuccarello, they're missing Foligno, they're missing Brodin, they're missing Kaprizov, they're missing Spurgeon. Philip Gustafson is out. Vinny Lettieri is out. They're missing guys. Hartman got hurt early in tonight's game. He eventually came back. Johansson took a puck to the face. He also came back. But 2 nights ago against Calgary, we did this show, and I said, you know what? Second and third period, we agreed on this was pretty good. The Wild played a bad first period, but they're down a lot of guys, and they came back and played hard, and they lost 3-1. Tonight was terrible. Tonight is, I'm sorry, and I know they've got injuries, and that can be used as an excuse, but this was a no-show tonight. And look, there's a lot of guys with opportunities to step up. There's good players who have a chance to go into the star role. There are guys from Iowa up here who have a chance to do something. This is not the Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup teams. This is a team that right now is out of a playoff spot. They're good. I mean, Kucherov, Hedman, I can go through it. Bassey, I love Bassey. But this is not the Lightning of old. And I thought tonight was inexcusable. And I'm going to start with the stars, or the guys that should be. Matt Boldy, no show. Yep, 0 shots. No show. Marcus Johansson, at least through 2 periods, 0 shots. Again, another lackadaisical, lackluster. Oh, I lost the puck. Well, I'm talented enough to get the puck back, but I'm not talented enough to care. Marco Rossi didn't do enough.
0 shots for him as well.
Yeah. And so we can make up excuses and we can say they're missing all these guys. And I've got a list right here, but that was garbage tonight. And this team very well is probably toast. They're not a playoff team. That being said, I need to see far more from guys who are being, it's right now being demanded they contribute, and they're feeling, as Bruce Boudreau said to the Capitals with a bunch of F-bombs a while back, you're feeling sorry for yourself. You've lost guys and you're moping around the ice. Well, that to me is not acceptable. Boo bleeping who. Go ahead.
Yeah. What a poor performance. I mean, this is I'll side with Keith here. Your first line, you got to show up and act and play as if you are a first line. You're missing a lot of guys, and I get that. They're missing millions of dollars in cap space with the dead cap, with the guys hurt. I believe somebody did the math on Twitter today, and it was like they're like 25 and a half or even a little bit more for their roster under the league minimum for salary with everybody that's out. So it's like they're missing a lot, and I get that. But your point is correct. We need to be seeing more. There was no point in this game that I felt that they were going to take it by the horns and take control. They were just going out there to play hockey and wait for that 60 minutes to tick down. It's okay, sweet, 20 minutes back to the locker room. Let's go hang out. Oh, darn it, we got to go out and play another period, boys. All right, well, hey, 20 minutes, we can come back here, have a little powwow, call it a day. It's frustrating that we're not seeing more from the guys that I want to. When you look at I'll give you a couple names, and you've already listed off some of them, but Alex Goligoski, Marcus Johansson, Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy, Pat Maroon, Connor Dewar, Jacob Lucchini. I'm not saying all those guys need to have shots, but Johansson, Rossi, Boldy, why are you not shooting the puck? In a full game, the fact that John Merrill recorded 1 more than you is criminal. Why is it that you are not shooting the puck when Matt Zuccarello is not playing? Ryan Hartman missed time, and he came back and he got a shot in this game. Like he looked like he was trying at times. Kirill Kaprizov is out. You need to step up and show that, hey, when guys are missing, because that's what eventually, you're right. Right now, they're not a playoff team. Even if they get back healthy this very second, we don't know, because of how big of a hole they put themselves in, if this can be a playoff team. If we started everything over and it was 100% healthy and we got the Kirill that we saw a couple weeks ago emerging, it's a different story. But right now, if you made everybody 100% healthy, I'm not sure this team could get back into the playoffs just because of how big of a hole, especially now with 4 consecutive losses, all in regulation, you're not even getting a point. You're just standing still. The car is in neutral. Everybody else is at least inching forward. They're in drive, pulling off the brake at times, getting a point in overtime. They're losing in a shootout. You're just sitting still. I need this team to at least have the guys that are on the ice show a little effort, because I did not see that from a large handful from the guys in green for 60 minutes tonight. There was a few, don't get me wrong. Maroon at times, like I respect him dropping the gloves, and I don't know if that's the time to do it. I think it was you that actually,
yeah.
You're already so hurt. Why are you going to handcuff yourself even more? I don't know.
Right. Well, and I mean, look, you know what? It's different if the team lacks a certain intensity, but you can tell it's on the precipice of appearing, and then you stage a fight. I don't like stage fights, but then you stage a fight and your team gets going, right? But this team was dead ass all night. Like Maroon's fight wasn't going to change that, and it didn't change that. I want to get back to Boldy, because this guy's maddening to me right now, and I hate this. 7 years, 49 sheets, $49 million. Okay. He is being paid very well. And look at his season. He's had, when John Hines got the job, we saw him snap to it, right? The Matthew Boldy, we know it's there. The Matthew Boldy who's damn good, damn talented. And yeah, okay, guys are out. That's too bad. But to your point, no shots. Like what is he doing? You can't just disappear. Just because your buddies are gone doesn't give you license to disappear. Marcus Johansson, you know what? Fooled us, right? Fooled us again. Playoffs. Oh man, that's the Marcus Johansson that you didn't see last his first stint with the Wild, because now he's healthy. So age, we're going to see this. Mark, you know what? Let's re-sign him. Tonight, giving up the puck left and right. And here's what's maddening about him. He's got the talent to get the puck back. Watch how many times he gives it up and then just gets it immediately back, because he's got nice hands. Like, he's got good hands. But this guy, Boldy and Johansson, I'm not going to jump Rossi, because I think he's done a lot of good things. And if he had a bad game, I'm not going to jump a guy for a bad game. What I'm going to jump a guy for is a lack of effort and a lack of, just like a student, right? When a kid doesn't, when a smart kid doesn't assert themselves and then for a semester, they're like, I'm going to try hard. Kid gets straight A's. And now we're back to the C's, and he's smoking outside during lunch break, and I'm pissed off. Boldy, I think, deserves to be come down on. Johansson for sure does. Rossi, I didn't like his game tonight, but that doesn't mean that I think when guys have struggled, he's actually really, really played well at times. So I'm going to lay off him. But and the defense is a complete mess. I mean, this defense is a complete mess. But boy, did you see on a couple of those goals tonight some puck watching too, or guys who got sort of turned around. And that's another story, because of all the guys that they're down on defense. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. We talked about this. Goligoski and Merrill simply aren't that good. And so I think it would be a little bit hypocritical to rip them when we've been talking about the fact that they're not that good. But I will say Boldy and Johansson, to me, are really, really disappointing, because right now is their time to absolutely step up. And if anything, they're sort of just trying to fit in with the crowd. Well, the crowd is, not that good right now.
Yeah, and to the Rossi point, I'm more upset that he just didn't get any shots. I know he maybe leaned towards the playmaking game today. I think I hold him to a higher standard, because I believe so much in him. I think the steps that he's taken this year, even when other guys have a bad night, he is a guy that he's not a creature of environment. He is the environment. So I want him to be able to elevate other players. And when other players are having a bad game, he plays well enough to bring their level of play up. So that's where my maybe disappointment in the night is. Like, yes, he did not have the night that we've had tonight, or the night that I've been used to, I should say. A lot of puck watching, but Bogosian, as much as I think you and I have both kind of thrown praise his way tonight, there was, I want to say it was the third Jets goal. Just lazy from the half wall, kind of coasting back to the middle of the slot. First off, higher than where he should be. I'm not sure why he's drifting towards the top of the circles there. But you're leaving then Pat Maroon to take your guy in the front of the net, and he gets beat. Pat Maroon's a big body, but he's a forward as well. Bogosian,
Right.
just you should know what your role is. You got handed the 8 tonight, and maybe they drew it out of a hat because I don't know how many guys are left, but
well, that's the scary thing. I mean, this defense beyond Middleton and Faber, it's so depleted that you're just asking too much as well. But yeah, I think you're talking about the Hedman power play goal.
No, sorry. I think
you're talking about the second.
It was the second Radish goal.
Darren Radish's first 2 goals of the season. Congratulations.
Yes.
I mean, he barely scores. He scored not 1 but 2 tonight. Of course, then on the empty net goal, Hartman lost the puck to Hagel, which completed the scoring. And you know, there is a case to be made here too. So I think that the top guys definitely deserve blame, and they deserve to take the brunt of the criticism from tonight. But there is a conversation to be had here too. And we talked about this on Tuesday after the Flames lost. There are some real opportunities for guys from Iowa to force the hand of management here if they played well. One thing I'm wondering for the game Saturday against Columbus, that second line again tonight was Rossi in the middle of Hartman on the right and Nick Patan on the left. And Patan didn't do jack tonight. I wonder if you would put him on the 4th line on Saturday against Columbus and move Walker up. Now, the problem is he's a right wing and so is Hartman. But, I feel like I haven't seen Walker at all. And I think part of that is because he's got some skill to his game. I don't know he's a 4th line grinder type of guy.
No.
And I'm not saying he's going to save the day, but like you've got to do something. And I don't think that John Hines is afraid to change lines like Dean was. I mean, Dean certainly didn't like that, but I do think that the person who said that you have to at least consider juggling things and juggling lines has a point, because it sure doesn't sound like guys are coming back quick. And I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying you're going to have to do something because what I saw tonight is an unacceptable performance. Like, you can't have this. You can have games where you're going to lose and you're going to play hard. But you looked like you didn't show up. I'll go back to what I said at the start of the show. Tampa Bay's still good, but they ain't the Tampa of old. I mean, this wasn't playing the 82 Islanders or 78 Canadians. This is a team that's very professional and they're good. But to look like you looked is a real problem.
Yeah. And to your point on Walker, last year when he had his short stint with the big club, I mean, he was, in my memory, and maybe I'm looking through rose-colored glasses here just because it's quite a bit of time removed, but he was a spark plug. He's got the speed, he's got the drive and the heart, I think, to he's got that prove it mentality. So to put him on the 4th line, I would say put him up, and whether it's on the correct wing or not, get him on a line where he's going to get a little more ice time. I want to say the line that he was with Dewar and Lucchini, they had just under 6 minutes of time on ice together. I can't quite see exactly how much time on ice he had. Sammy Walker at 8:04. I don't see a reason that you don't get him a little more ice time, throw him on a higher line, and just see what he can do. Because you don't have the bullets in the gun at this point to keep, you can't just be spraying left and right. You have to be precise with your shot. So if you're going to take a lucky shot, why not Sammy Walker? He's shown you last season, and granted, John Hines was not here for that, so he may not be as aware, but Darby Henderson was. So get in his ear, Darby, and say, hey, this is the guy we need to give a chance, because right now you've lost 4 in a row in regulation. You're going to have to try something. And like John is saying here, why not? Throw Rossi and Walker on a line, do something that's going to try to spark, because if you don't spark anything here, like we talked about the other night, you've got limited time before GMBG, Billy Guerin's going to have to make a decision before the trade deadline. And if you don't start doing something, you're going to have to just assume that this season is lost. Like a lot of the chat is kind of saying here tonight.
Well, and I think it probably is lost, but it's how it looks once it's lost to me that becomes incredibly important. Mm-hmm. Like tonight is, okay, if you're not going to try, then we got a problem. Tuesday night was you tried, you just got beat. Your bottom six tonight was the third line was Goudreau between Maroon, who had a pretty aggressive game. I actually like this game. On the right, Duhaime on the left, and then to your point, it was Lucchini and Walker on the flanks with Dewar at center. I think you're right. I would move Walker up to the second line at least, and put him with Rossi and Hartman. I also would consider, as a person said at the outset of the show too, I wouldn't be adverse to juggling that first line. Boldy and Johansson the last two games, I thought Boldy was far superior against the Flames, but tonight concerns me. So I would have no problem with juggling those first two lines. I think Sammy Walker probably age. It makes sense with his skating ability and what he can bring to put him on a second line right now. But yeah, I mean, Duhaime came off the fourth line to play on the left wing on the third line. So, I mean, this thing, don't get me wrong, this thing's a total mess. I'm not trying to say it's not, but I also have to see a little, I would also like to see people put in a position where they feel that they can give more. And that's what I didn't see tonight. I didn't see anyone who felt that they could give more. And that's a lot of BS because, you know, Boldy, Eriksson, Johansson, Rossi, they're definitely guys, Hartman, they're definitely guys who can play far superior to what we saw.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you're going to go out there and play professional hockey, I would at least, and I'm going to sit down to watch it, make me feel like I'm like giving you my time for a reason here. And I didn't feel that at all tonight. It was just 60 minutes of me assuming that, okay, how much are they going to lose by? There was no point. I'm almost mad that they got the consolation goal from Bogosian there at the end. You know, that is at that point and that late in the game, sure, you know, a miracle is needed at that point, but the fact that we're the spotlights and the foghorn and all the pyrotechnics, it just feels like overkill at that point. That should be as quick back to the face-off dot as possible. Let's keep moving because we're seeing a team right now that I feel, and this is just speculation, is just they recognize in the locker room how many stalls are empty from the big names, and they're just saying, well, nobody's really expecting us to win here. We're going to go out and just kind of play a little hockey. If we do, we have a good matchup one night. Fantastic. You know, we'll get a point, but you haven't done that now in 4 games and you have no wiggle room after the start that you've had to the season. So you need to be winning games here for any hope whatsoever. But I like I said a few minutes ago, if you had everybody healthy tomorrow, this team probably still isn't good enough, given especially with the point structure that the NHL has compared to what we're seeing now with the PWHL with the 3-point system. There's not enough time in just games remaining for them to have a meaningful turnaround to get back into the playoffs.
And by the way, the PWHL has it right. It has it 1000% right.
Yes.
The NHL does not. The other thing that they've got that I absolutely can't wait to see when they play here against Montreal in their franchise debut at home on Saturday is if we see it, if you score a short-handed goal, the person in the penalty box for you gets out of the penalty box.
That's amazing.
Genius.
That's
it's
amazing.
Genius. I've never thought of that, and it's absolutely genius. So if you score a shorty, the power play ends for your opponent. So that's absolutely cool. And I can almost guarantee you that we will see a more quality product on Saturday here against the Montreal PWHL team than we saw tonight. Let's talk about goaltending.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we're going to see Wallstedt soon. Wallstedt, according to Jesse, not Wall. I keep saying Wallstedt because that's how it's spelled. I think.
Is it a V at the front?
It sounds like it's a V pronunciation.
Okay, all right.
Because Jess knows more than I do about pronunciations because she's here every single day. I think that's an inevitability, and here's why. If we didn't see, and we didn't obviously, Zane McIntyre tonight, and I know that there was an off day, but you know, this goes back to what we've talked about. Marc-Andre Fleury's an old man, right? And Jacob, I don't disagree, and I think the Wild agrees that Wallstedt is better if he's left in the American Hockey League. But with the time Gustafson's going to miss, I think that they're going to recall him, and I think we're going to see him. And I don't think they would do that if they thought that they were going to ruin him. I think a year ago, with his conditioning being questionable, I think a year ago there were real, stop signs about he ain't coming up here. I think that's turned into a softer stop sign. And yes, he is currently hurt, but it sounds like his return with the Iowa Wild is close. So I'm not going to be surprised if he makes his debut at some point next week. And that's the thing. If I'm not mistaken, this was game 2 of 14 in January. And every week in January for the Wild is filled with games. So, for instance, they play in Columbus on Saturday. Then they come back here and play Dallas on Monday. And then they have games here on Friday and Saturday and the next Monday. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him make his debut at some point next week, assuming Gustafson's still out, which I think he will be.
What are your thoughts here from Ace throwing out this question for us? If they keep slumping, is there a chance the Wild trade Gustafson for, in his words, a big return? I feel like it's always weird because before the first trade of the season is made, or like heading into the trade deadline, you don't know what the value of things actually is. It fluctuates every year. And plus for a goalie, I feel like you always get considerably less. But do they then sign cheap goalie next season to do a pairing with Wallstedt? Judd, your thoughts?
I think so. You're right. First of all, it's an interesting goaltender market because there's teams that need them. The Devils, for instance, could use help in goal. Carolina could use help in goal. There's a team, Toronto. Exactly right. Now, Martin Jones is playing pretty well right now, but he's Martin Jones. There's a team like Montreal that's not very good that, if I'm not mistaken, has 3 goaltenders and could trade one. I think the Wild would be more inclined if it's over. I think they would be more inclined to ask Flower if he wants to be traded to a contender. I fully expect that the goaltending duo in 2024-25 here is going to be Wallstedt and Gustafson. So I think that they would probably trade, but as Q-Tip says, and as you said, and you're exactly right, don't think you're going to get a huge return. Now, if you're out of it and can get a draft pick for Flower and he wants to be traded somewhere, that's a possibility. But yeah, I think goaltending is akin to the running back. Don't you? It's like, oh, what could you get for a running back? It's like, well, really not that much. So I would not have a delusion that you're going to trade Gustafson and get a first round pick. I don't think it would work that way unless there was like a contingent first round pick, but the contingency would be the team he goes to, like, wins the Stanley Cup or gets to the Stanley Cup finals, probably a long shot.
You're right in the sense that, like, running back and goaltender, if you have a really, really good one, arguably elite one, you're not going to trade them. You're going to want them even if you're having a bad season. That's
like
injured. There you go. But if you're willing to trade them, more than likely, the truth is they're not that great. They're not the key to the kingdom that is preventing a team from winning, because same thing with like a center. Center position in the NHL is just so limited. When you have a good one, even if you're bad, you're holding on to that thing with the tightest grip of all time. So yeah, Gus, I think if you did move him, you'd have to wait until the first trade gets made. I don't think Bill Guerin is one that would actually probably make that exploration, just because I think the return is going to be so underwhelming that it wouldn't be worth it. But if he did, he's not going to be the first. That's not going to be the first move of this trade period leading up to the deadline. You're going to have to get some valuation. Somebody's either going to get fleeced or be the fleecer before that happens, because that always seems to be the case.
And you know what? It's been pointed out in the comments quite a bit the past 2 times that we've talked about trades, and it's exactly right. There's a ton of no move clauses, no trade clauses, or at least limited no trade clauses, right? So like you can't just at the deadline say, okay, let's start to move guys left and right. I would have to look at Johansson's contract. I don't think he has protection, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But I mean that, and what's he going to get? Like, he'll get you a little something, but he hasn't had a good enough year to justify much, right?
No.
And then when it comes to your veterans that you signed, you're not going to get a ton. So it's not like, in fairness, thank you, it's not like there is a bunch of guys to move or who you're going to move. I mean, the deadline's not going to be a flurry of activity where you're like, oh my God, they have blown up the Wild. They can't.
Here, I have Cap Friendly up in front of me here. So here are the names of guys with no move clauses. Matthew
Okay.
Boldy and Joel Eriksson Ek, I think, are unmovable right now. Maybe not. I think Ek is
You're not going to
unmovable,
trade him.
but you're not going to trade.
No,
Boldy
you're not
at
going to
least.
trade either one of them. No,
Brandon
agreed.
Duhaime, he can be moved. Marco Rossi and Sammy Walker both on entry-level contracts. Connor Dewar, he's free to go. Jacob Lucchini, Nicholas Patan, Jake Middleton, John Merrill, Brock Faber, that is unmovable right now. Damon Hunt, Dakota Mermis.
Okay. So they all don't have protection?
They all do not have protection, along with Philip Gustafson, Vinny Lettieri, and Kirill Kaprizov.
Okay. So yeah, and there's just not that much to move here. I mean, there's not that much, and nobody's going to get you what fans think. If you could trade Foligno, you'd get a lot back. No, you actually would. You'd get something back, but you wouldn't get a ton back. And I mean, this is going to have to come from the draft and the development of your team. All of that being said, my biggest gripe tonight is what I saw. And and this is not, it's not an acceptable habit not to show up. I'm just looking at the shots tonight. So see, Eriksson Ek had 5, played 20 minutes, 52 seconds. He had 5 shots on goal. But as we just talked about, Boldy, no shots. Johansson, no shots on goal. And that's what has to change. And look, you got Columbus on Saturday. Columbus is a mess. They're always a mess. So, or I should say this season, they're a mess. So, that gives you an opportunity to at least not say, well, we can't, we can't compete again because of this or that. So, it's going to be a long road. And I mean, this team is right now certainly not trending towards a playoff team. To what you said, they're not getting any points. You have to get points. Your start, much like the Vikings, right? The Vikings with Cousins and Jefferson, blah, 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 got off to a 1-4 start. Well, yeah, you can rebound from that a little bit, but you're behind the 8 ball. And like any other misstep, you are done. And that's how this feels. But all of that being said, what I did not like tonight is what I saw, because I came on the show on Tuesday with you and we both said, yeah, that was 2 periods of pretty good play.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you lost. Well, when it looks like that, I think it's more acceptable. When it looks like this, the fans didn't even have the energy to boo these guys off the ice tonight. Like, that's how lethargic the building was. That's how absolutely dead this place was. And I'm sorry, a staged fight with Maroon and Watson ain't gonna reverse that.
No, not at all. To give you an idea of where my head was at after the second period during that intermission, I pulled up the standings and I filtered it from division to wild card to conference, finally to league, because I wanted to scroll down and see how many points separate this club from being in a higher draft lottery slot. That like, based on the play that I saw, that tells me, hey, we're going to go ahead and just hope for something in terms of what happened to Chicago last year, where they make that bounce up. Macklin Celebrini, I hope you like green. I hope you like the color green, my friend.
Oh, that kid is good. Don't you love Celebrini?
He's great, but the thing is, there's a lot of guys there.
I love that kid.
There's a handful of guys, and this is maybe a talk for a different day. But in that top, after him, maybe even like 3 through 7, impact, maybe not initially, but you give him a year just to kind of warm up, get used to the faster paced, bigger men they're playing against. There's some good talent in this draft in the top few picks. So even if they don't make the playoffs and you're looking at where they might sit in that draft lottery, if you can get somewhere in the top 7, I think you're sitting all right.
Can I share a fear with you about the draft?
Yeah.
Not the upcoming draft, but last year's draft?
Yeah.
I think not taking Perreault is going to be a massive mistake. Watching that kid play, I mean, I just don't see Charlie Stroman. I mean, he's scored a few goals. I mean, he's not been impressive at Wisconsin, and I know these guys are kids, and I know that things can change greatly. And I for instance, defended the Boldy pick over Caulfield just based on size. Because I mean, Cole Caulfield's a dynamic goal scorer and he's fun to watch, but based on size, I said I sort of get that, or I get that one, right? I don't get this one when I watch Pro play. I don't get it, Age. This kid's got the it factor as far as I'm concerned, and you let him get by you, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that was a head scratcher the night of the draft, and I want to give Judd Brackett and his team,
My namesake.
Absolutely. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that was I think my reaction the night was, it's not that I don't like selecting him, it's where they did, because it felt like you could have got him where they got Riley Height. And granted, Height's probably looking like a guy now that you should have taken in the first round, but the fact that Perreault was there just sitting for the taking, he said, no, thank you. I didn't know. No, thank you, sir. I'll take a tall kid from a tall local kid who had an underwhelming year in Wisconsin. I would love to be wrong and have this sentence get thrown back in my face a year from now, 2 years from now. I really hope I'm wrong, but it's looking like Gabe Perreault more than likely should have been the pick for the Wild there.
Perreault looks like a guy you're going to turn on the TV in a couple years, and then every year after that, and watch him and be like, oh boy, that wasn't good. All right, tomorrow we got an exciting one, afternoon at 12 or 12:30, NHL Network World Junior Championship hosts Sweden against our boys, and the USA got a scare from Finland today, down 2-rip, came back and won 3-2 on a really rinky-dink power play. They scored the third goal in the third period, but then to even things up, of course, the officials called a rinky-dink penalty on the U.S. late. Finland did not score. Anyway, it was far too close for comfort, but nonetheless, it's the host Swedes against the U.S. tomorrow afternoon. Who do you got? And Sweden is good.
Sweden is good. That Axel Sandin Pelika, I'm not sure exactly how to say the last name. Part of the Iser plan. He's got the Detroit draft already. He's just got a knack. He's just got a phone tapped into Sweden. Everybody that's good that comes out, he's probably going to.
He came from. I was going to say he was in. Well, not just in an instrumental piece and captain of the Red Wings when they were the first to tap into Russia.
Yeah.
Jimmy Devellano, they tapped into Russia. They were the first. The Red Wings won't tell the Red Wings won't tell you what the weather is outside, but they'll screw you if they can.
I think, and I don't want this to sound biased, but I think that even on foreign soil in front of the home crowd of Sweden, USA on paper, with all of the other intangible factors out there, are a better team. And I think despite the close game that they had against Finland, having to come from behind to win that one, I expect they may have had that mindset of, okay, Canada's out. This is, cruise control.
Right. Not a great Canadian team, in part because a lot of their guys are on national hockey league teams. I forgot Bedard was eligible.
Shane Wright was still eligible.
It's incredible.
As much as I would like to poke fun at Canada and saying you got eliminated in the first round of the single elimination, they had an all-star team. If everybody plays, that is eligible. So
they'd be skating circles around it. Yeah,
but USA should win. I expect a quick start from them. I think it'll be a pretty fun contest. It's not going to be a blowout by any means, but I think USA should and will win the gold medal tomorrow.
3-2. The U.S. wins. The only thing I can't decide is if it gets to OT or not. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. I think it's very, very close. I like the Swedes. The Swedes are a good team.
How about a very specific Swede, Ogren? Do you think he can?
Let's say they beat our lads. Let's say, but Ogren scores the GWG, potentially OT. Age, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I'd be fine. That after what we've seen here the past week from the big club, having an up and coming Swede plunge a dagger into the heart of the nation would be just fine with me.
Well, Boreas Salming, baby. Boreas Salming. And by the way, if you've not heard the great news, the World Juniors in 2026 is going to be right here on this ice at the X. And I think they're going to use Mariucci. And then it sounds like there's going to be preliminary round games around the state as well. It is one of the great tournaments of all time. If you are a hockey fan and aren't familiar with it, it is essentially the NCAA basketball tournament for hockey fans. It's great.
Yeah,
All
I've
right,
already
H.
talked to Phil about having that entire week off. So
Oh, I'm not going to be around either. Well, I might be around. Like I'll go do shows with my computer.
yeah,
It's in 2 years, and I'm old,
no,
so
yeah.
so I'm hoping I'm around, and
Don't
like
say
nothing
that.
bad happens in 2 years. You never know. You never know. No, what's bad luck is to be like, yeah, in 2 years I'm gonna be at all the games. I'm gonna be great. You're like, yeah, you're about 56 by then, 57. Yeah, a little dicey. Anyway,
No, young and spry.
yeah, young. Yeah, thanks a lot. All right, we are done. Thanks for those of you who came along for the ride. A disappointing game, in what has turned into a disappointing season. A lot of it's self-inflicted, some of it's not, obviously. And as always, subscribe to all the great Score North content: Purple Daily, Flagrant Howls, the Score North Twin Show, tons and tons of stuff. And Age, I should plug this too, right? TikTok, you got stuff on the Score North TikTok channel as well.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe, like this video, follow both the Score North and Purple Daily YouTube channels for all of your Minnesota sports needs. At Score North over on TikTok, as well as Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, all of our socials. We're working daily to pump out the newest, latest, and greatest Minnesota sports content. So wherever you find that sports content, we're more than likely there. Score North in the search tab.
Awesome stuff, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for watching Judd's Hockey Show.